Hey there. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. I'll say that again. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast. Oh, yep, with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Now it's time for the Big Bad Broadcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to welcome you to Bitchin Baby Boomers.
Hey everybody, I'm John Ferrentino and welcome to Bitchin Baby Boomers 2.0 and welcome my Bitchin Baby Boomer Army. We're 1,500 strong. We're averaging 300 new members to our Facebook page a month, and we're going to take over the Bitchin Baby Boomer Nation. But let me introduce to you the guys. We got a great show today. We have Mike Grief.
Hey, we got room to boom.
We got Joe Silkie.
I knew you were going to say that.
He's a mind reader. And we have Craig Mitchell.
Live long and prosper.
There we go. So original thoughts from everybody. We got a great show for you today. And, but, you know, I was looking at the paper this week. I just got to bring up this story that I saw. There was a guy in Australia, and he was snorkeling, and he saw a halibut, or no, it was a mullet, actually. You can tell by the hair. You can tell by the haircut. Yeah. It was a mullet swimming along with a gold wedding ring around it.
Oh, geez. If you look in his other fin, you can see he's carrying a purse.
You know, it's hard enough to be a fish and without being married.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cod awful show.
Is it a sequel to the Incredible Mr. Limpet? Is that what it is?
All right,
I'm just here for the halibut.
The Incredible Mr. Viagra.
All right,
Viagra.
before this becomes a pun fest, we're going to bring on our first guest because we should be above those kind of fishy jokes.
No.
All right. But we're not. So the next guy is a dear friend, and he's very funny, works everywhere. And before I introduce you, I just want to show you a quick clip of what he does.
It's California. Look at your beaches. Oh, they're clean. The whales, don't kill the whale. They're clean. Wash your hands, Bobby. Put some of that stuff on. California. Bobby, are you eating organic? Oh, I hope so. People, I'm from New York. Once, what was that big thing on television last year at Christmas time? They found the tip of a finger in a Wendy's fast. Remember? Everybody couldn't find what happened to that finger. Who's every news channel, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whose finger is it? I don't know. I hope they find. People, I'm from New York. I once found a head in my baked macaroni and cheese. You know the rules. You eat around it.
So I'm going to introduce you my good friend, Grammy-nominated, hosted VH1 Stand-Up Spotlight, appeared on all 3 Tonight shows with Jay, Johnny, and Jimmy. He's a best-selling author, and he performed at the White House twice. A good guy, a good friend, Bobby Collins.
Yeah.
Guys, a pleasure to be with you. A pleasure.
Now, Bobby and I go way back to Dixon's.
Oh my
Dixon's
God!
White House. And Bobby was one of the New York comics. Actually, you were from where? Queens, right?
Queens.
Queens.
And I would work out at the clubs in New York, but then I heard about this club that you can get a little bit more time out on Long Island.
Yeah, I got lots of time in Long Island.
But the Dixon's White House Inn, for people who don't know, I mean, we know it's kind of legendary in the comedy business. This was this guy who had his face made to look like Nixon. And he thought he was Nixon, and he called his club the White House Inn. And once I got a letter, come to meet him, I got a registered letter that Dixon would like to see me in the Oval Office. And I got to the Oval Office, and I walked inside, and he goes, I just want to tell you that I've been watching your set, and I want to tell you that you got it. You got it, goddammit, you got it. And I went, well, thank you. And he goes, don't thank me. Thank him, goddammit. Meeting over. Meeting over. He was so nuts. He went right, Bobby.
I thought he was a nut job. I mean, who goes around trying to look like Richard M. Nixon? Come on, you nuts. So I didn't. I kept my distance.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but he had a $2 million contract with Smirnoff Liquor. Him sitting in a chair. It was $1 million. I'm sorry. Him sitting in a chair. This is in the 70s with his feet up, drinking a martini as Nixon.
Really?
Wow. And yeah. And that's what gave him the face. Then he paid this guy big money to put up a sign that said, the face, the place, the show, let's go. Oh. And Bobby was one of the few comics that came out from the city.
Right.
And yeah. And so, it was a city comic coming out to work with us on Long Island. And Bobby was really kind to us. He said, I know all you guys. You guys all have dicks on your noses.
Right. I would work with the comics in the city, and it was fun. It was nice, but they were very hard. And then when I went out to Long Island, they were more friendly, down to earth, personable. I liked it. I liked the comics. They weren't any less funny. If anything, they were just good comics, and it was a pleasure to always go out to Long Island.
Yeah, I mean, and we always welcomed, to us, when a city comic came out to Long Island, it was like a big thing, like, wow, like we're starting, because there was a big rivalry, right, Bobby, back then, the city comics and the New York and the Long Island comics.
And it's the same thing out here in California. Here they thought, when I came out here to do a TV sitcom from New York, here they had an attitude that the LA comics, because, the Comedy Store and the Improv, and this is where all the best comics come and hang. I always knew the quality comics came from New York, not out here. And I would never say anything about it because let them think what they want. I'm just here to do my job. It's a business, show business. Do my job, move on to different clubs, work, timing, rhythm,
Yeah, and the crazy thing was, I guess because the guys on Long Island, we had nobody before us. We were the first guys. So we didn't have the Paul Reisers. We didn't have the Jerry Seinfelds. It's where all the city guys kind of fell into that mold of like, hey, where are you from? You know what I mean? Where you kind of fit really the Long Island style of comedy more than the city comedy. You know what I mean? And that's not an insult, because you were way different than a lot of the city guys.
Well, I've always learned from doing comedy, the best comics are the ones that allow an audience to feel who they are. Because if an audience gets a feeling of who they are, your likability goes really high. And then your material, if it comes from your heart and from where you're coming from, and I tell stories, boy, they just go off the cliff for you. And you didn't see that in New York, but you did feel it and see it more in Long Island.
Yeah, I mean, back then, the big comic on Long Island at the time who was really starting to break was Bob Nelson, because he was so different than anything that anybody saw. And, there was, and then we moved on. Eddie Murphy, right? Eddie used to I used to have to drive him to work all the time.
Wasn't he in some group, John? The identical, I forget the name of it.
It was the Identical Triplets.
Yes.
It was him, Rob Bartlett, and Bob Nelson.
Right.
And you could never tell them apart.
And Eddie was, I just remember that Eddie was, I remember my dad came to see me once. Eddie was opening for me, and on the way home in the car, my father goes, that guy opened for you is going to be really famous. He's really funny. And to the day my dad died, he always thought he discovered Eddie Murphy.
That's great.
And then basically, we went to Eastside Comedy Club where Rosie O'Donnell started.
Right.
And you knew Rosie. And then Rosie started her own comedy show on VH1 called Stand Up Spotlight.
Yeah.
And then when she's moved on to do some movies and stuff, she hired you.
Yeah.
She hired you, right?
I remember going into Dixon's, and Richie Menavini was the MC, and he said, okay, he said to me, I got 2 spots open, the first one and the 10th or the 11th one. I said, coming from New York, because I have to drive back, I said, I'll take the first. And he said, okay, I'll give the girl the last one. And I remember thinking to myself, because I grew up, I have sisters and all the girls I knew. I said, well, maybe the girl's better than you. Maybe she should MC. And the girl heard me. And the girl was Rosie.
That's so funny. And the first time Rosie worked at Eastside Comedy Club, she came out and she begged to do comedy. And it wasn't Dixon's that when the first time she did it was at Richie's Club. Right. And she came out on stage and she did Jerry Seinfeld's entire Tonight Show spot that aired like the week before.
Is that true?
And yeah. And Richie came up to her and said, what are you doing? And she said, well, I saw Jerry Seinfeld, do it on the Tonight Show. That's how much she knew about comedy. She goes, it was so funny. So I learned it. And Richie said, you can't really do that. And she was like, oh, I didn't know. It's pretty interesting, how people start,
We didn't
And then
know.
you hosted that show, right?
She gave it to me. I got a call one day. I got a call and somebody said VH1 called. And they said, hey, we were watching VH1 Stand-Up Spotlight. Rosie was host. And next thing you know, she said, I won't be here anymore, but the new host will be Bobby Collins. I never even heard about it. Then my phone rang, and it was VH1, and they said, I guess the cat's out of the bag. I said, yeah, let's talk money.
Yeah, it's always good to talk money after that. Yes.
But yeah, that was a good show for you too.
Oh, it really.
That really put you on the map, so to say. Not that you weren't funny, what I mean, but it's like people knew who you were then,
And then I was doing a commercial from Certs. They asked me to do a commercial. I did a few of them, and then they called me up and they said, on the commercial, could we say Certs presents comedian Bobby Collins? I said, I'll pay you to do that.
Certs, man, I hated those things. It took like 4 cigarettes to get that taste out of my mouth.
Hey, Bobby, can you tell us what Retsin is? What is Retsin?
No idea. It's something along your underwear. It shoots around. No, I don't.
Hold on, I'm going to get some Retsin.
Oh, yeah.
And then, and you're a great family man. And you have daughters, and you've really dedicated a lot of your life. You have a daughter with disability,
yes,
and you've done amazing work. And tell us about that. I mean,
you dealt the cards. When I was little, growing up in Queens, and then earlier lower part of Manhattan, we were poor. We were more than poor. We were po. That's when poor people come over to your house to feel better about themselves. And I remember my mother was from the South, so she was tough. And there was a kid named Julius, excuse me. And Julius was, at that time, they said the word was mongoloid. Remember mongoloid?
Oh, yeah.
Terrible word.
And my mother said, don't let other kids, to me and my brother, make fun of Julius. They'd walk, hey, he's retarded. He's a fucking retard. So my mother said, don't do that. Take up for him. So we took up for him. And we would make kids apologize. We'd grab them to say that. And they never did it again. And I had the blessing of having a special needs child who doesn't walk. She doesn't talk.
But let me tell you something. I've seen this firsthand. When Bobby comes into the room, she just lights up. The love that she shows you is amazing. I mean, it's really amazing. You should be very proud.
And it just gives you a good feeling that carried over. Is it hard? But my wife is on the board of a camp that she goes to for the last 17 years. We do comics for a cause. Me, Jay Leno, Arsenio, all the guys, I call them up. They go, let's do it. And all the money goes to the camp because these kids, half the parents can't even afford to send their kids, So
bless you.
Yeah, it teaches you a lot about yourself. And who would ever know that here I'm taking up for a kid when I was a kid, Julius, and now I have a Julius. And I got to tell you, it really opens up your heart and it teaches you a lot of things. Is it hard work? Oh, my God. Is it hard?
Right. Well, and it's funny, too, because, my daughter wrote that show, Emmy and the Orphans.
Yes.
And it's about her aunt that had Down syndrome. And through that show, I met the actor Eddie Bartonelli, who is he's such a great friend now. And he's just so special. And he's a delight. I mean, he's just a delight, And his thing is politics. Don't get him started. But he's great. I mean, he's just great. And, it's a great thing. And you're an author, right? And you won a Grammy for your comedy album for you, Ted.
I did six DVDs. One of them, they say, "Oh, this is great. This is Grammy nominated." No. Again, you come from Queens or Long Island or wherever. You're down to earth. These things don't mean. And keep going. Thank you very much. Keep going. Well, how was I going to talk about Trump now? How am I going to do this thing about pandemic? My wife's very hairy. I look down there. It's like a afro. She even got a pick. You're doing all the stuff in your head. So these things don't mean much.
Wow, 6 DVDs, man. I can't even set the clock.
And you have a new book coming out, right?
Yes, the first book was called On the Inside, Wittisms and Wisdomisms. And I couldn't believe how it took because it was all the lessons the poor kid grew up learning, and I just passed them all on, and I passed them on with the examples of how it popped up, how I needed to see it. And the next book is called On the Outside. We're taking a mirror, holding up, we're comics. Take a mirror, holding it up and see the reflection of what we have inside of us and passing that along to people. This, that, and everything.
On the Inside used to be one of my favorite comedy bits you used to do. It wasn't a bit about your wife would come home and you'd be like, Bobby, you got the food all over. I don't even remember the bit, but basically it was like you were a mess and you were like, this is my king, I'm the castle. And that's what I said on the inside.
On the inside.
On the outside.
On the outside, honey, whatever you need, I'll get it. No problem.
I don't care how tough you are. That's the answer.
You know.
Or as my other friend Fred Klett, the comedian, does this act, he says, when your wife comes in and just wants to criticize you, don't argue back. Play dead. Just play dead.
I've been home. I haven't been off for 2 weeks in 40 years. I've been home 14 months. I know murder is illegal. But, oh my God. What, Bobby, how much toilet paper do you use? Do you wrap your whole arm in paper? Honey, I just want to be sure. Bobby, when I met you, you used to have a nice bubble butt. Now it looks like Mitch McConnell's chin.
So you're going back out to work. You're doing a lot of theaters, which is amazing. And, you have a pretty good theater following. You're everywhere, right?
I'm happy. Last year I did 52. 2 years ago I did 52. Right. Yeah. This year I've only done two venues already, one in Cleveland and one in Florida. And Visani's Dinner Theater, the comedy place. And sold out. I was so surprised. People in Florida, they don't wear a mask. They don't get vaccinated. One guy hollered out, "We can't wait to see you next year." I go, "You probably won't. You'll be dead."
Yeah. And if not from COVID, just from old age, it's Florida.
I know. Average age, dead.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Well, we got a lot to cover, and you're going to be at Governor's Comedy Club.
Governor's Comedy Club.
Hey, look at that.
Saturday, May 29th at 7 p.m.
And I think they've added another show, 7 and 9. I don't know. But you know as well as I do, you guys would know, you want to get your rhythm, your timing, your everything. You got to kick off the rust. It's time to get back. And what better place to do it than comedy clubs? Comedy.
Oh,
venues.
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But, Joe and I have been in show business a long time. Joe started out as a magician, and that's how I know him. And when I used to do a lot of TV, Joe used to come up and design stuff for me to do on the show because, after you do, like, the same show, like 8 times, you have nothing left, and Joe would come up with stuff. But, I used to call Joe Silkie the ninja of magic, the guy who was behind the scenes.
Nice.
No one ever saw him, but he was the ninja. And Joe's got a story when he first started. You got to hear this. You'll love this. It's so funny.
So I'm really into magic. I'm like the biggest fan kind of thing. I am 16, 17 years old. I'm on Long Island, and I meet this guy, Bob Friedhofer, who's a professional magician.
Right.
And he's going to do a mall show in a shopping mall for a
He
week.
booked a mall. All right. That's high life, working the mall.
It's the massive
The
people
big time.
mall.
Right.
And
Second floor.
This is like 76 or something like that. It's a different time. So he's doing this show every day, these like, family shows. But at the end of the week, he's going to do a bullet catching trick. He's going to catch a bullet in his mouth in front of a live audience at the mall. Okay.
With a real 22 rifle.
Right,
What could
right.
go wrong?
And now he's dead.
a lot of Italian guys that tried that.
Yeah. So there's like, and in magic, the history is like, there are like 16, 17 guys that have died trying to do this trick different ways. Okay. So it's a real gun. It's bullets.
Wait, let's just back up the story. It's a real gun. It's a mall. There's people watching, and you're allowed to bring it in with ammo.
What could possibly go wrong?
So now,
It sounds like present day.
So now they put up these stanchions, so that no one comes in. But you got parents holding their kids over the stanchion so they can see.
I want to see the guy's head splatter, Mom.
Right.
Now we practiced it. This is the first time we're doing it. First time he's doing it. We practice it, but we never practice actually shooting. We went over all the stuff. So this is the first time I'm going to shoot the rifle at him.
Oh, no.
So I get up there, and it was this like James Bond rifle that like the barrel went into it, and you took everything out of the stock, and you put it together, and someone selects a bullet, and they put it in the thing, and there's a sheet of glass. So I put up the gun, and he's on the other end. He's on the stage, standing there. I'm way down the other hall.
How far away is he from you?
He's like 50 feet away from me. Something like that. I mean, it's like crazy. It's like the whole mall thing. It's like
I shot him in the gut.
So now I am nervous. He's nervous. I take aim. I shoot. The rifle goes off. The glass breaks, and all of a sudden I see his eyes get like 3 times their size, and he falls off the stage. I thought I shot him. I thought I killed him. And I'm like, this is like the longest amount of time. I'm like, 16, 17 years old. I think my life is over now. I'm going to go to hell or something, And so all of a sudden, from the back of the stage, you see this hand come up and grab the stage, and then he like pulls himself up, and he's got his like teeth clenched around something, and he takes his plate and he spits the bullet in there, and the crowd goes wild. So afterwards, I go to him, man, I thought I shot you. He goes, No, I was too far to the end of the stage. I took back and I fell off the stage. His expression was like,
Oh my God.
So that's that's what I experienced.
God.
Oh,
That's a great story.
Oh, man.
And Mike, during the pandemic, as you know, he does a lot of work and he's an actor and everything. So there was no acting work and there was no comedy work. So he
I shot
decided
a couple of guys in the mall.
Yeah, so he shot a couple of guys in the wall. So he decided that as the time being, he was going to maybe get a job writing Hallmark birthday and greeting cards.
Is that what you want to hear? You want to hear my
Yeah.
Well, listen, you know what? You got to make the money where you can. So it's the new Mike Grief Hallmark greeting card line, and I wrote this one actually for my anniversary's coming up. So I wrote this for my wife, but you could write Valentine's Day or anything like that. So here it is. It's for the anniversary, and it's dearest love. I remember when we met. You had just hired me to kill your family, and as you were paying me in those crisp $100 bills, our fingers touched. And it was magic. Since then, my love has grown and grown. And every day for me is like killing your family over again. Happy anniversary, baby. I love you.
Oh, God.
You can just feel the warmth from this guy.
Well, you know, come on, man. It's love. Love. You can't stop love.
Oh.
But, well, that's the tradition. I got the Mother's Day one, but I'll say it because it's just past that. The one I wrote for my mother. And let's see. Let me see for Mom. Okay,
I guess you didn't get this job.
What's that?
I guess you didn't get the job.
No, the card's in the store right now for Mom. Dear Mom, thank you for always being there with bail money and cigarettes. Thank you for always believing in my innocence, even though you knew I was guilty. Mostly because you helped me plan the job. I understand you didn't know how to show traditional love and understanding, but your actions spoke louder than words. I remember the time you beat the shit out of the principal for accusing me of stealing supplies and selling them on the street. We made a fortune. Happy Mother's Day.
Was her last name Barker? Just curious.
Very, very sweet. Yeah. And Craig does a lot of trivia stuff. No. I asked your daughter what your favorite movies and TV shows were growing up.
Yep.
And he kind of got some questions. It's very hard to play this game with Joe Silkie because Joe Silkie's a mind reader. He knows the answers before they even ask the question.
I knew you could say that.
And I knew he would say that. So Bobby, yeah. I want to segue. I'm glad I followed Mike because there's no way I could be funny after that. But anyway, you're a fan.
No way you can be. No.
What? Go ahead.
Nothing. Go ahead, Craig.
No, what? Were you calling me fat again, dude? You're a big fan of NYPD Blue, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, so am I. I mean, I actually named my cat Andy after Andy Sipple. I am not kidding. And and my cat has an attitude. When it's time to feed him, he comes up and he hits me with a phone book. It's just not good. But anyway, I wanted you. We have something in common here with our cast, and I want to show you this clip from NYPD Blue.
Went out, bought a disposable camera to get a shot of the skeleton, but I wouldn't let him go back down there.
Yeah, officer, no pictures.
He wants to sell it to the tabloids.
Hey, I'm the one that found it. If it wasn't for me, nobody'd realize there was a skeleton there.
Over here.
Hey, I think I should be allowed to take a pic. Did you notice the size of that skeleton? Did you notice the little flower dress? That's a little girl. Come on, I went out and spent money on a camera. You're not going back over there. Hey, what about freedom of the press? About freedom of the press? Shove it up your ass.
Look familiar.
Yeah.
So that made me feel very comfortable.
So here's a trivia question for you. This is a tough one. Before NYPD Blue, Dennis Franz, who played Sipowicz, was in another series, but only went to pilot.
but it also had the title NYPD in it. Do you know what it is?
No.
NYPD Fire Department? No, I don't.
You're close. NYPD Mounted.
Mounted?
Where he played a mounted police officer riding a horse.
Did it take place in the village?
No, that's NYPD Blue, but blue is spelled a different way.
Right. BLU.
He got replaced by the guy in the Village people.
Right. The leather guy. You think it was the leather guy or the cop?
The cop.
Oh, gosh.
The other thing is you're a James Bond fan. And this is for everybody.
As you're a kid, it's James Bond, Jason Bourne. I still even watch Chicago PD. My wife won't watch it with me.
Chicago PD, cool.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I didn't know about Chicago PD, so it's James Bond. And
Right.
this is for everybody. This is a great question. It's kind of a gotcha, but we'll see if you guys can get it. Can you name all the actors who have played James Bond on film? And that includes TV. Can you name
I probably
Roger Moore.
Roger Moore's one.
Right.
Sean Connery.
Two.
Sean Connery. What's that guy?
Daniel
Bronson?
Craig. Daniel
Craig is three.
Right.
Pierce Bronson. Didn't he play?
Pierce
Bronson,
Bronson.
yeah.
Like one movie.
Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton. Yeah, that's doing great. There's two more. Three more.
Really?
Mr.
Woody
Magoo.
Woody Allen.
Woody Allen played his nephew.
No, David Niven.
David Niven. Casino
No.
Royale. Now this
Excuse me, I'm
Who
James
are
Bond.
Casino Royale in 1967 was like kind of a comedy take on Bond, and David Niven played him. He played an older Bond who couldn't do anything anymore. It's true.
Oh.
There's two more.
Oh, God.
Two more.
Two more.
Guy
You got me, man.
Guy from the Majesty's Secret Service, whatever.
Right. That's right. The Australian guy who couldn't act, and they dubbed his voice in the whole movie.
Really?
Yeah. George
He wasn't
Lazenby.
the guy in the Darth Vader suit, was he?
That's what it was. And there's one more that's very tough to get. He played it on a TV movie in the 50s.
There was a James Bond TV movie?
It was. Yeah. I don't remember the
I
title
don't
of it.
remember that.
Me either.
Okay. It was Barry Nelson, and you can see it right there. That's all the Bonds right there. If it's big enough, Barry Nelson's down on the bottom left.
Yeah.
So those are all the.
Right.
Wow.
And Timothy Dalton looks like crap. Oh my gosh! All right. Anyway, yeah. So no. So he did. I mean,
Every role looks so good.
No offense, but that's the wrong one. Look at that. I mean, what happened to him? I don't know. Anyway, okay.
That's
And
great.
that's all
Well,
the
who's your
trivia I got.
definitive? Who's your definitive James Bond? For me, it's always been Roger Moore, but I know most people say Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
For me, it's Roger Moore.
Our exaggeration, Bobby, right? I would say Sean Connery, right?
Sean.
Yeah.
Sean Connery.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Roger Moore just brought that comedy to the role.
He was just, but you know what? But you want to know something? Out of the new ones, I like Daniel Craig. I like
Right.
the fact that he gets a crap beat out of him.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's more normal. You know, like he's always beat up. It's like, like Sean Connery never broke a sweat. Never got a stain on this tuxedo shirt.
Don't they have a
That's
new
what was
James
so-
Bond guy coming out soon?
Well, they have,
Probably.
yeah, they have the new
Craig
Bond
turns
movie.
it down?
Yeah, no, they're growing him now in the capsule. They're growing them.
There was rumors that Idris Elba was going to be the new James Bond.
Oh, he'd be great.
Who?
I know, I like him.
Is that
Idris
really
Elba.
Man, he's
Is that really
incredible.
is that really a person or a disease?
Yes. No.
What's his name? What's his name?
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba is where Napoleon was actually sent after he was.
He's an
Sounds like a-
amazing,
it sounds
amazing
like a-
actor.
Sounds like a prison camp in Poland.
If you saw him, you'd know who he is.
I'm sorry, guys. I have to go to Idris Elba.
I don't know. What else you got for us, Mike? Any stories? Anything in the news?
Well, actually, I mean, I wanted to, we picked up a lot of new viewers. We picked up a lot of guys from the UK and England, and I wanted to welcome them. And being that England is the mother country, I kind of wanted to ask them if they're our parent country is. Can we come home, please? Can we, please? maybe we could stay in our old bedroom, maybe on the couch. Maybe you could pay off some of our credit card bills, but things ain't going so good over here.
I looked at the United States. I looked it up on Yelp. We're at 1.5 stars.
Yeah, we picked up, and to our new viewers, we picked up 40 last week just from the UK alone.
Can you believe what happened in our country? I mean, we're sharing the planet with a lot of different types of people. We got to start thinning out the herd. The genes now use some chlorine.
They just did that. That's what COVID is. I think that's a whole world government conspiracy to thin out the herd. But
yeah, but you still got Q morons out there. That guy came out and he said he made it all up, and now they're still believing it. The fake this. What is it? Bigfoot. I saw him on a subway 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I smoked a joint with him the other day, man. Me and Bigfoot, we got high.
You're going to kick out of this. I went to my car guy here in California. I have to get the car fixed. And I went in there, and he's from another land. I don't know, Yemen or somewhere. And he looked at me, and he goes, Bubby, you did not get the vaccine. And I did, but I told him I did. And I went, no. He went, don't do it because they put the chip in there, and then they know everything about you. And I looked and I go, you're kidding? What? You're kidding?
I told him when I got my shot, I told him when I got my shot, I said, give me an extra chip, man. There's something missing in my head. I need an extra chip.
Hey, I have Facebook. They already know everything about me.
When QAnon releases their daily thing, is that called a Q-tip? Hey, I'll be here all week. Yeah, those people are pretty wacky, man. They're pretty wacky.
I know. That's why I'm going to that pizza parlor in Queens with Hillary Clinton has all those pedophiles down in the
It's like, we try not to be political, but boy, you cannot talk about this stuff. I mean,
we had an insurrection in the United States. Hello.
No, we're just talking about cues. Here's all the cues from
right. There you go. All the cues. I had an insurrection once, but then I took Viagra.
I will tell you one thing though. When you say about this insurrection, that one congressman who came up yesterday in the middle of the House and said, there was no insurrection. It was just a normal day of tourists.
Right.
Yeah. He actually said that.
If you're in my family, yes, that was a normal day. Because we will go places and we will bash the shit out of people and break windows and shoot people, whatever. So that is like a normal tourist kind of thing for me and my family. But I don't know if everyone else.
Who knows? I have no idea how long we've even been on time on the show now. How long have we been on, Craig? Master
about 37 minutes.
All right. Well, cool. We got a couple more minutes.
Well, you know what I was going to say, because that's why I brought up England. I was going to talk about the British invasion a little bit. You know, the whole. I wanted the music. You know, because we're baby boomers, so we're talking about 60s, 70s, 50s too. But for me, the music of I was trying to think of a song that encapsulates the 60s. You know, unfortunately, the song I came up with was Marvin Gaye, "What's Going On," but that wasn't released until like 71. And then I came up with a Ball of Confusion, but that also came out in 70. So I settled on The Who, which the song My Generation, which is from 1965, and that's British, so the British invasion. But what do you think? I mean, like, for me, that kind of encapsulates that time. We'll give Bobby the first. What song would you think really means the 60s to you?
All the leaves are brown, leaves are brown, and the sky is gray.
I have the ultimate 60s lyrics. Remember the song "Time Has Come Today"?
Oh, yeah.
Time has come today.
Right? Okay, so the ultimate verse of 60s is, my soul's been washed up and put aside, but now my soul's been psychedelicized.
I remember psychedelicized.
I've been washed up. I've been washed up. I've been washed up in the tumbling tide, and my soul's been psychedelicized.
You know what I thought you were going to say? The Eve of Destruction. Remember that song, The Eve of Destruction? Because that Vietnam and all that.
Barry, what was his? Barry Mitchell. No, Barry. I don't know.
I went to the doctor's the other day, and she said, "I'm going to give you a muscle relaxant for your back." I went, "A Quaalude?"
Now you're showing that's.
Remember Quaalude?
Oh yeah, man! I used to carry him around in a wrapped in foil, looked like a pack of certs, man. I actually woke up driving one time on 6 of them.
Oh,
I was driving and I'm like, I was asleep. I came to. Anyway, for legal purposes, I have to say that's just humor. If anyone is listening out there, these are just jokes.
So you like the Wolf of Wall Street, then, Mike? Right?
Oh, that is the funniest scene ever. You've seen that movie, right, Bobby? Where he takes about 7 Quaaludes, right? Because he doesn't think they're doing anything, and then he goes, and I got home pretty safely. And then it pans to his car, and there isn't one part of the car that isn't destroyed. And the door opens on the car, and he rolls out and rolls up the flight of stairs. I had no problem getting home.
Oh, my God. Look what we lived through. And now look where we're at.
I know.
Oh, my God. That's the thing. It's like compared to, I hate when these, you get, okay, so you figure the millennials, that's our kids. Then these Gen X's, there are basically the grandchildren. And they're lazy shits and they're angry and this and that. It's like, if I wanted to learn something, I had to go to the encyclopedia. If my father wasn't hitting me in the head with one of the books, to look up information. That's how I tried to get the information. But, today it's like it's all right at the tip. So if you ask these kids something, they don't know it because they don't learn it because they just look it up on their phone. It's no wonder why they're so stupid.
You want to know the ultimate laziness? When my son was in college, who is now very successful, but when he was in college, he used to have an app on his phone so he could text while he was skateboarding and see where he was going.
Okay.
He could text, and it used the camera on the phone so he could see where he's going so he wouldn't run into anybody while he was texting.
I pulled up next to a car the other day. I'm not a rap fan, and the car was moving. It was shaking.
Right.
And they used, and I'm over there, cat the cop, bitch, wiggle, cat the cop, cat. Oh, we are safe. I'm like, oh my God.
I hate that. When I pull up next to a car like that, I start blasting the Carpenters.
Right.
I hate when they mix those rap songs with it's just terrible, It's like
we talked about that. They sample. It's called sampling. It's called stealing. You're taking a song, the backbeat, the whole rhythm of this song, and you're adding new words. What a talent you are! It's like TikTok. Have you seen that? They take. I wouldn't be surprised if some of your stand up is there. You got people, just ordinary people. They'll play your stand up and they'll mouth it like they're doing it. I'm going, wow, why everyone thinks they have some kind of talent. No, you don't. Get a fucking job.
Right.
Right to me there, Mike.
They had that for a while, right? Didn't they they used to have comedy karaoke where they would play comics routines like Rodney, and the screen would come up and the guy would do his impression of Rodney, doing like he was his voice, but he would be reading the jokes.
Lip syncing.
Right. Yeah.
No, it wasn't lip syncing. Like it would come up and go, hey, it's great to be back in men's clothes. And the guy would go, hey, it's great to be back in men's clothes. It was like a Rodney thing,
Okay, all right. Okay,
What's your favorite Rodney line? You guys got a favorite Rodney line?
I got. I like when he said, he was I asked the cop, how far to the subway? He goes, I don't know. So far, nobody ever made it,
My two favorite Rodney jokes were when he's on the Tonight Show and he goes, look at you, Johnny. All those years as a comedian, you end up behind a desk. And then he goes, how's your kids? And he goes, hey, this bit's still killing. Let's get to my kids in a little while. He goes, but I will tell you, I wish my kid's room was as clean as his pot.
He did. He smoked his body weight in pot.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, everywhere. Remember when they threw them out of Caroline's? Hey, you know, this is an old blast from the past. We don't know how, because back on 8th Avenue, Caroline's was the hottest club in the world, right? And they used like Pee Wee Herman, Jay Leno, like really huge acts. And for some reason, Bobby and I were working Caroline's together, right? You remember that? No. And then when they did, you do so. Because you'll remember this. When they were opening up at the Seaport, that was their next big club, they had life-size cutouts of all famous comics in the window. And Bobby and I were together. Me with a meat cleaver, Bob Lee looking at me like, what is that all about? And we couldn't figure out why we were there.
Oh, God. I remember coming off the stage at Catch a Rising Star, and some older man handed me his card, and he said, have your agent call me. And I went, my parents? You know? And I ended up giving it to an agent who was, you know, how the agents are all milling around you after a while. And he said, where'd you get this card? I go, some old guy at the club. He goes, do you know who this guy is? No, old guy. He goes, that's Cher and Frank Sinatra's manager. I go, oh, okay, here. You know. And next thing you know, I was touring with Cher.
Wow. He didn't Harvey Weinstein you, did he?
No.
I was going to guess King Broder, but I was way off.
Yeah. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
Hey, I got subpoenaed, which I still have in a scrapbook. So what happened was, back to this is, we'll wrap up the show this way. Back to the identical triplets. King Broder had this idea that, for anybody who don't know, King Broder was like Broadway Danny Rose. He would have
that clears it up.
I mean, he was. I mean, he was Broadway Danny Rose. So anyway, Bob Woods, who's a comic friend of ours, used to swear that he had a buzzer underneath his desk that anytime he went to talk about money, you go, hey, King, I can't work for that money. And all of a sudden he would step on the button, his phone would ring. He'd go, excuse me a second. Sinatra? Of course I can get you Sinatra. Yeah, I'll talk to Dino later. All right, boom. All right, what were we talking about? Bobby, I need more money. Hold on a second. Right, and every time. So he decided that he was going to manage the identical triplets and manage Eddie Murphy, who at the time was 17 years old. He signed a contract with him. And then after the first 3 big movies, he sued Eddie for 20% of everything he made.
Wow.
So I got subpoenaed to go to court on behalf of Eddie Murphy. I missed a cruise that at the time was big money. And Eddie was going to fight this to the end. And at the time he was filming another movie, and Paramount said, yeah, it's not worth for you to fly back and stop the production of the movie. We're just going to give him $1 million and tell him to shut up. Wow. So I'm the only one that lost money.
Wow.
And then, yeah, so he's a millionaire, and Eddie said, I'm not giving him anything. And they go, we'll pay for it. You don't have to pay for it.
Right. I had that. Yeah.
So
I've had experiences with law. And matter of fact, in one of my chapters of the book, it's called the judicial process, and how people use it against entertainers to make money. And they know how to work it like you can't believe, especially out here in California.
Well, you did Evening at the Improv, right?
Yeah.
So his contract, Bud Friedman's contract, said that he owns the rights to your performance, not your material, in all media, electronic, TV, movies, CDs, and media yet to be invented.
Wow.
Wait, no. In the world and in the universe. That's what it says.
What a dirtbag. What a fucking
in the universe.
Like you expect anything decent in this business. Everyone's a fucking dirtbag.
He said the world and the universe, but he said nothing about alternate dimensions. So there's a loophole.
Right. There it is.
So the Guardians of the Galaxy don't have to pay residuals on all that old music they're playing.
Well, if I have a problem, I'm just going to QAnon lawyer.
There you go.
All right. Well, listen, I think this has been fun. I mean, I think we had a good time. What do you think, Bobby? You have a good time?
Circus people. I'd
got-
rather hang out with, comedy people than anyone else.
All right. And we,
It was great
again,
hanging out with you, Bobby.
And Bobby is going to be at Governor's. Put that up one more time. Make everyone happy.
Okay.
There he is. He's going to be at Governor's, and go see him because we have a lot of people from Long Island that listen. So get back into comedy. Go to Governor's, see Bobby. You know you're going to have a great time. He's funny. So I'd like to thank our special guest, Bobby Collins, for being here today.
Thanks, great hanging out with you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so remember, you can find us on the www.thebbbbradio.com or find us on our Facebook page. And now if you go, we have all of our past shows, and we're also on a podcast, so you can take us with you anywhere you can go.
That's right. And go to YouTube, watch us, and don't forget to like us and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, you cheap bastards. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, or I will find you.
And the bell. And the bell. You got to hit the bell.
There's a bell. Hit that. Subscribe. You can figure it out. You're not as dumb as you look, people. Subscribe.
And you can follow us on Instagram, too.
You know,
Yes, you can.
when you're dead, people don't know you're dead. You don't know you're dead. Other people feel the pain. Same thing when you're stupid.
And you can follow us on Twitter. Please look us up. We're at the BBB Radio Podcast at Twitter.
There we go. So that's it, guys. We'll be here next week.
Tune in next week to more Bitchin' Baby Boomers.